Welcome to Gospel Truth with Andrew Wommack, a teaching ministry that focuses on God's unconditional love and grace.
It's like he was just putting the pieces together for me in such a way that just was simple but powerful. And I was like, yeah, this is God's truth right here.
It wasn't always what I wanted to hear, but I knew it was the truth, and I always wanted the truth.
And now, here's Andrew.
Welcome to our Thursday's broadcast of the Gospel Truth. Today I'm continuing to teach on a subject that I've entitled, Don't Limit God. I wrote this book about 19 years ago, shortly after I had the second most important encounter I've ever had with the Lord as far as outward change. And that was on January the 31st, 2002. And the Lord told me through Psalms chapter 78, verse 41, that I was limiting what He could do in my life because of the way I was thinking. And I tell you, this revolutionized my life. And since that time, everything in our ministry has increased anywhere from 40 to 50 to some things 200-fold over what it was. As far as number of people that we're reaching, materials going out, books translated, translations, outreach, income, on and on and on it goes. It's phenomenal what God has done. So I'm just saying that this isn't just a theory with me. This is something that I've lived for 20 years, and it would work for you. So we've got this book. We've also got a study guide that is the same material as the book. It's just formatted into a way that you could disciple other people in a Bible study or Sunday school class. We've also got a free giveaway. This little static cling sticker that you peel off of here and it'll stick to a mirror or nearly anything. And it says, Don't Limit God. And then we've got an updated version of this teaching entitled, Don't Limit God 20 Years Later. And that's got all of the details about what has changed in my life. And so it's an updated or a current testimony. And I've been ministering on this now for nearly 2 weeks. I spent the first week primarily just talking about how we can limit God. Some people don't realize that, and they think that God just does whatever He wants to do and that we can't limit God. God is God regardless of what we think. Well, we aren't going to change who He is, but we can sure change how we experience His power in our life. You can either believe God and release the supernatural power of God, or you can operate in unbelief and be like the children of Israel that wound up dying in the wilderness. They never did enter into the promised land and experience the blessings that God really wanted them to have because of their unbelief. And so we can limit God. And then I've been talking about ways that when the Lord spoke to me in 2002, I was doing things that limited Him, and some of them were unconscious. Part of it was I was just for the first time in our ministry, we were cruising along at a speed that it was effortless, and our needs were being supplied and people's lives were being changed. We were reaching 3% of the U.S. population on television, and even though that wasn't huge, it was making an impact, and we were having our needs supplied, and for the first time in our ministry, we were eating on a regular basis. Our bills were being paid. It looked like we were going to live and not die. And there was a tendency to just coast and take the easy way out, to become complacent. And so that was one of the things that was hindering me. And I was fearful of failure, that if I really stretched myself and tried to reach as far and as deep as God had told me that I should, that I could fail. And I think that a lot of people deal with a fear of failure. They would give away their dreams and trade them for just security. There's many people that would rather have security than they would rather take a risk of doing something that would be just dynamic and life-changing, but run risk. And most people are adverse to taking risk. If you're going to take the limits off God, you're going to have to get out of the boat and get out there on the water like Peter did and run the risk of drowning. And some people, that's just not acceptable to them. Well, you aren't going to be a world changer. You aren't going to see God's power really fulfilled in your life if you're adverse of taking a risk. How do you overcome that fear? 1 John chapter 4, verse 18 says, perfect love casts out fear. If you really draw close to the Lord, and if you know for sure that God is the one that's spoken to you, then you can run risk and you can be assured that God's there to pick you up. When Peter began to sink, he called out to the Lord, and the Lord reached out and lifted him up and said, "O thou of little faith." He only had little faith. He wasn't a faith giant, and yet he was walking on top of water because he just took a chance. There was 12 disciples in that boat. No, all of them could have got out and walked on the water, but only one of them was willing to do something that nobody else had ever done. But even when he began to fail, he didn't just fall all at once. He didn't sink and drown all at once. When he began to sink, the Lord reached out and lifted him up. God will take care of you. So you have to draw close to the Lord and let His perfect love cast out fear. And then what I was sharing yesterday, my biggest problem really was I had been a very prideful person when I was a teenager, and when I had this encounter with the Lord in 1968, God just knocked the pride out of me, knocked the wind out of me. I saw the glory of God, and compared to God, I was a zero with the rim knocked off. I mean, I was nothing. And I humbled myself, and when I did, that's when I experienced the love of God and the joy of the Lord, and I mean, it just transformed my life. And I had enjoyed walking in humility with the Lord, and I was afraid that if the Lord gave me a large ministry and increased me the way that I knew He told me He wanted to do, I was afraid that that success would cause me to get into pride and I'd lose my relationship with the Lord. Look at this. I used this verse yesterday out of 1 Peter chapter 5. In verse 5, it says, "Likewise, ye younger, submit yourselves unto the elder. Yea, all of you be subject one to another, and be clothed with humility. For God resisteth the proud, and giveth grace to the humble." And then the next verse says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that He may exalt you in due time." You know, it seems contrary. Some people think that humility is having a debased, bad attitude about yourself. They think that you can't knock yourself down low enough. Now, if you go just a fraction of an inch above what God wants you to be, then you're in pride. But they believe that you could go to the bottom, debasing yourself and criticizing yourself, and that's humility. No, humility is not exalting or debasing yourself. Humility is just being God dependent, or as it says in this next verse, casting all of your care upon Him because He careth for you. If you are careful, worried, if you've got problems and you're just struggling, how do I manage this? How do I cope with this? You're in pride. And you may think, pride? I'm not arrogant. I'm sitting here thinking I'm going to fail. But see, if you are handling it yourself, if you feel the responsibility, that's pride. These are not disjointed verses. He talks about God resists the proud. Therefore, you have to humble yourself. And when you humble yourself, God will exalt you. There is a godly exaltation. And see, I was in a situation where I had seen the negative sides of pride and of arrogancy so much that I was fearful about that, but I wouldn't let God exalt me. I wouldn't let God increase the ministry. I wouldn't let God give me influence over more people because I was afraid of what it would do to me. And yet it says, if you humble yourself, God will exalt you in due time. True humility, you have to not only not promote yourself, but you've got to accept God exalting you, giving you more influence when the time comes. You know, to me, the classic example of this is over in the book of Numbers chapter 12. And Miriam and Aaron, that was Moses' sister and brother, they came out against him because he had married an Ethiopian woman. An Ethiopian was a black woman. Moses was, a Jew, like Middle Eastern complexion. And so it was an interracial marriage. And they criticized him and they said, "Has God only spoken by you?" And they came out against him. When Moses heard this, it says in Numbers chapter 12, I believe it's verse 3, it says, "Now Moses was the meekest man on the face of the earth." You know, that's quite a statement. We don't know how many people were on the earth at that time, but we know that there were around 3 million Jews that came out of the land of Egypt that Moses led out, and that was the minority, so there was more than 3 million Egyptians, and then there was all of the Canaanites and the Hittites and all the other ites. There was probably 10 million, 20, 50 million people on the earth, who knows? But out of millions of people, Moses was the meekest man on the face of the earth, and here's what really amazed me. Guess who wrote that? Moses. He's the one who wrote this. God inspired him to write that when his sister and brother came out against him, God told Moses to write that Moses was the meekest man on the face of the earth. Did you know most people, the way that they look at meekness, again, they think that it's just beating yourself down and having a bad opinion and not accepting anything nice about yourself. If you criticize yourself, that's okay, but if you exalt yourself in the slightest way, that's pride. But did you know that debasing yourself can be pride? You know, let's say, for instance, if somehow or another you could be present, and if we had, say, 20 or 30 people in a room, and you were one of those people, and I said, let's all pray and ask God to show us who is the meekest, the most humble person in this entire room. So we're going to pray. And if God speaks to you and says that it's you, I want you to identify yourself. Now see, most people, the way they think about humility, well, I'd never say that I'm the meekest person out of 20 or 30 people. That would be pride. And so you wouldn't admit it even if the Lord spoke to you. I'm saying that's pride. True humility is not exalting yourself nor debasing yourself. It's just putting God and other people ahead of yourself. And if God says you're the meekest person on the planet, you'd write it about yourself if that's what God says. You aren't there to promote or to demote yourself. And yet religion has taught us basically that you can criticize yourself and think bad of yourself all you want to, and that's humility, but you go just the slightest bit above where you should be, and that's arrogance, that's pride. No, pride is just self-centeredness. It's you leaning under your own understanding. It's you worrying about what other people say. This says you cast your care about things over on the Lord. If you're worried about people's opinion, if you have to have their validation and them accept you, then you're a prideful person. Did you know that being timid and shy is super manifestation of pride? And I can say that with conviction because that's who I was. I was an introvert. I couldn't look at a person in the face and talk to them, and I can tell you what was going on the inside of me. I was thinking, what about me? What are they going to think about me? Am I going to say something stupid? Am I going to do something wrong? And it was all thinking about me. I was just totally self-centered. And the reason that I couldn't talk to other people is because I was afraid I would do something and they would reject me. It was me, me, me. A timid person, a shy person is a super self-centered person. That's pride. If you spell out pride, P-R-I-D-E, is the center letter of that. And that's the way it is in pride. Pride is all about you. It's all focused on you. And you may not be exalting yourself. And because of that, you think you aren't operating in pride, but you're still focused on self. You're demoting yourself. That's pride. I was teaching on this one time, and I had a little Mexican guy walk up. He was only about this tall. He was an older guy, and he walked up and stuck his finger in my chest. And he says, I heard what you were saying about pride, but he said, you know, it says in Proverbs 13:10, only by pride comes contention. And the point that I was making is that if you've got anger, if you've got contention in your life, it's because of pride. It's what's on the inside of you. It's not what other people are doing to you. And this guy walked up and was poking me in the chest and saying, I hear what you say, but I'm a very angry person and I've got strife all of the time, but I am not a prideful person. I feel worse about myself. I'm down on myself more than anybody else. I'm not in pride, and yet I've still got strife. What do you say about that? And I had to redefine pride for him. And I said, pride isn't only exalting yourself. Pride is self-centered. And when you are focused on yourself and criticizing yourself, and if God did something good through you, you wouldn't even say it because you're afraid of what people are going to say, then that's pride. So anyway, I say all of these things to say that the Lord was speaking to me that in a way I was fearful of being lifted up with pride, but if I knew God wanted me to go this direction and I was hesitant to do it because of what people would think about me, and I thought that, all of these things, well, then that was actually pride. I was putting my own wisdom, my own choices ahead of God. A truly humble person is a person that just does whatever God says. And if you're like Moses and he says, you're the meekest man on the face of the earth, it would have been pride for Moses to say, I'm not going to write that down for people to read for thousands of years. Who are they going to think that I am? See, that would have been pride. It was humility for him to say about himself what God says. And so God began to speak to me and show me that if I didn't forge ahead and do the things that God told me to do because I was fearful of getting into pride, that in itself was pride. That in itself, I was exalting myself and putting my own wisdom ahead of God. And I needed to humble myself under the mighty hand of God, and then He would exalt me. I needed to cast my care over on the Lord about this. And the Lord just put it to me this way. He says, I've spent 34 years invested in you and preparing you for this day. And you're going to have to trust me on this. Man, that's powerful. I don't know if this is doing anything for you, but I'm preaching to myself. This is really ministering to me. Going back and remembering all of these things that God has done. And I mean, since that time, God has increased our influence 1,000 times. I mean, there is no comparison. We now reach people all over the world. I had a sister-in-law that was over in India, and she was in a hotel on an exercise thing, and she saw me on television over there. She was just surprised. But you can go any place in the world, and we reach that. And I'm not saying that in a prideful way. I'm saying it in just a thankful way, telling you what God has done. God has increased this ministry. We are everywhere. We actually had a guy from the South Pole write us, and he was stranded there for 6 months. They get stuck there because of the weather. And he read all of the books that he could think of, and somebody had left my teachings there on a scientific expedition on the South Pole. And out of boredom, he started reading and listening to the teachings that I had, and he got born again and wrote me a letter. And I mean, you can go to the South Pole. You can go any place on this planet, and God has allowed me to be able to put the teachings out about the Word of God. I had one guy that came up and met me, and he says, I've wanted to meet you for a long time. And I said, why is that? And he said, I'm a missionary to Africa. And he says, I took my vehicle and rode it as far as the road could go. And then I got out and took my bike and I went down this little trail as far as the trail could go. And then I got off and took my machete and I was hacking my way through the jungle. And I heard somebody, a Texan, talking, and he said, I couldn't believe it. And I went to find out where this sound was coming from. And there was a guy that had a cassette player that was hand cranked. It didn't even use batteries. He cranked it by his hand. And walking through a jungle, I mean, where there was not even a trail, here a guy was listening to me teach. And he says, your teachings have just gone every place. And again, I'm not saying that in a prideful way. I'm just saying that God has blessed, and it's because I began to take the limits off of Him. I'm telling you, there's just so many ways that we get weird and we limit God. You know, one of the ways that I began to recognize this was just a couple of weeks before the Lord finally got it across to me, but one of the ways I began to recognize that I was limiting God by my small thinking was that I was on radio station KNYD, that's David Ingles' station in Tulsa, and I'd been on there for decades. And Lynn and Kathy Mink invited me to come on their program, and they were going to interview me. And I'd heard about Lynn and Kathy Mink for many years. They traveled for, I think it was over 20 years, being music directors with Kenneth Copeland. And they, in my estimation, were famous people and stuff. And so anyway, I accepted this invitation to go be interviewed on radio with them. And their format was that they would spend about the first 5 minutes or so talking about the news and weather. Then they'd take a commercial break, invite me in, and then they'd spend the rest of their time interviewing me. So I was sitting out in a waiting room listening to the radio program as they started, and they gave an introduction to me before they went to this break. And Lynn got up and said that when he first got born again, that I was one of the very first persons that he listened to on the radio, and he had been listening to me for decades, and that I had impacted his life, and God had used me to touch his life. And I was sitting out there, and I was just actually shocked. I mean, I was shocked that I had impacted somebody like Lynn and Kathy Mink. And so I went in, we did the interview, they took me out to eat, and I was just amazed. And I was telling them, I said, I am just shocked that God would have used me to speak into your life and to touch you. And Lynn looked at me and he says, what's wrong with you? He says, you've been on the radio for decades. Do you think that nobody listens to you? Why should it surprise you that God would have used your teaching to impact my life? And that made total sense. But you know what? I just wouldn't allow myself to go there. I wouldn't allow myself to really think that God was using me to touch people's lives. And you know what that was? It was pride. It was a fear of being lifted up in arrogance, but it was actually pride that wouldn't allow me to see what God was doing. And I had to humble myself. And when the Lord spoke these things to me, January 31st, 2002, and told me I was limiting Him and that it was time for me to get on with it, it was actually a step of humility for me to start speaking my vision and talking about what God told me to do. It would have been easier for me to just stay where I was. I wasn't being persecuted, wasn't having a lot of things happen. You know, now that we've increased, we've got thousands of blogs written about me, bad things said, and we have people come out and criticize us. And in our local area, we've got some people, they call it the Gang of Eight. There aren't a lot of them, but they are very vocal and they just trash me. I think I went 4 weeks in the paper with 2-page articles and pictures about what a terrible person I am. And it's only a couple of people that are doing this, but they're the ones that get all of the airtime and the space in the papers and stuff. And you know what? It would have been easier for me to just avoid doing all of that. And yet it's actually had to be a step of humility for me to let God exalt me. I humble myself under the mighty hand of God, and then God will exalt you. He will promote you. He will put you in a position of leadership. God is looking for people that He can use. Coach Tony and also JB, you know, we started this about 2 years ago, talking about the kneeling issue in the NFL, and you were sharing with me some of the background stories behind these people, and we just got to saying, we need to get these stories out there because there was another side.
I'm Tony Dungy, and I'm really excited about a new series I've been working on with James Brown called Beyond the Game.
You've been called Captain Kirk,
Yeah.
you know, a leader of men.
Jesus ultimately did that better than anyone, and his influence to this day is greater than anyone's. And so I look to him, look to the Bible, look to Scripture and the Gospels to say, how did he lead? What did he do? And then try to live that out.
Coaches and athletes in your favorite sports, and you get to see a side of them that we don't always get to see, their faith side.
We have so much negative press about athletes and, you know, spousal abuse and all kinds of things going on. And I think that this is really going to make a difference for people to see that there's some really godly people out there.
Clearly, it's the aberrant behavior of a few that gets the majority of the headlines.
So it's not only good for the athletes, but I know that you guys sometimes are just throttled in what you can say about the Lord.
We get so frustrated, especially when we'll go out and do a feature piece, but it has to get cut down into a 1 minute or 2 minute interview. And the audience can't really hear what is in the heart of these men.
We're thankful to you, as Tony said, to give us this platform, Andrew.
We'd love to have your help. Go to beyondthegame.co to find out details.
Whatever His dream for you is, everything that it takes to accomplish that is already provided. It's already been given in the spirit realm.
True courage is the ability to do what's necessary and do what's right, even when we have fear.
What is a dead end to us is nothing but an opportunity for God to show forth who He is.
Now that we've got our garage paid off, I'm going full steam ahead on building student housing. We're breaking ground in the spring, and we are believing that by the fall of 2023, we are going to have student housing. It just depends on how the response goes as to how quickly we can build it. And so I'd like to encourage you to pray about becoming a foundation builder with us. That's what we call this partnership for building out our Charis Bible College. Check it out at awmi.net.
Learn how to take the limits off God when you get Andrew's new series, Don't Limit God, 20 Years Later.
I would really like to encourage you to please get this product that we're offering about Don't Limit God. These truths that I'm expressing in here are some of the most important things that God has ever told me. And I mean, it has revolutionized my life and ministry, and as a result, millions of other people. The same thing would happen for you. And don't forget that we're offering this little free Static Clean sticker. I believe that these things could be a great reminder to you, so listen to our announcer and please call or write today.
Don't Limit God 20 Years Later is available in a CD or DVD album made from our daily television broadcast. Also available today is the Don't Limit God book and companion study guide. Each of these resources are available for a gift of any amount when you contact us. This entire series is also available for audio download absolutely free from our website. Also, as a special offer, Andrew is giving away the Don't Limit God sticker as his free gift to you when you write or call. This offer is limited to one free sticker per household and is available in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. Contact us today to receive your free sticker. We also want to remind you of Andrew's Living Commentary software. The Living Commentary includes more than 50 years of Andrew's Bible study notes and personal encounters with God. Get Andrew's Living Commentary today for $120. You can become a Grace Partner through our website at awmi.net. You can also order resources or receive prayer by calling our helpline at 719-635-1111. Our helpline is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To write us, use the address on your screen. We appreciate your generosity and hope to hear from you today.
GospelTruth.tv provides free 24/7 access to biblical teaching you can trust. Our Grace and Faith channel features teaching from Andrew Wommack and other ministers he's personally invited to share with you. Watch daily live programming, including Bible studies and the Truth and Liberty Coalition, as well as conferences, miraculous testimonies, life-changing stories, and financial breakthroughs. Visit us online today and make GTTV your go-to network to be filled with 24/7 biblical teaching you can trust.